Live from Houston, Texas, the humidity capital of the world, it's time for Money for Lunch, where we feed your brain and your business with supersized portions of business and financial news. Now your host, Bert Martinez.
Hey, we are back. My next guest, Carl Schumacher, executive recruiter and career coach. Carl Schumacher has been an executive and technical recruiter for Electronic Search, a premier wireless staffing firm since the year 2000. He is also the president of Executive Career Coaching, where he works with individuals and groups as a career coach. Through his many years in the employment and staffing industry, he has successfully recruited and coached thousands of individuals in finding new jobs and expanding their careers. As a recruiter, he has also logged thousands of hours of training by the top recruiting trainers in the industry. From his training and his own personal experience, he has developed customizable series of steps that empowers individuals looking for a change of jobs or careers. Carl Schumacher, welcome to Money for Lunch.
Well, nice to meet you, Bert. Thanks for having me on the show.
You bet. All right, let's talk about this because, you know, it's the whole process of getting a job has changed quite drastically over the last few years. And so I want to start off by asking you, what are the biggest mistakes you can make while interviewing?
You know, that's a great question, Bert. You know, of course, I'm going to have to do this on kind of a general type of thing because there's so many different types of companies. But let's take a face-to-face interview because that's kind of the key one that everybody uses. And the first thing that I think is actually the most critical, and I think people don't do it enough, is you actually have to connect with the person interviewing you. People hire people they like. When it comes down to it, if you line up 5 people in a row and they all have the same skills and they get interviewed, the one that's going to get hired is the one that the person likes. I mean, this is a world of people. And if you go to an interview and you don't make a connection, you're never going to actually get that interview. And to me, that is actually the number one thing. Now, another thing is actually being in the right mindset when you go to an interview. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody go, yeah, I was kind of frazzled. I had this going on in the morning, and traffic was really bad. And if a baseball player goes up to pitch, he's going to have like a baseball training thing he's going to do every day, or an actor is going to have a acting training thing. You should have your own way of being prepared for an interview. I was listening to the show, and you have a juicer on there. I mean, maybe you need to do some juicing in the morning. Maybe you need to. But the key is, I mean, I'm not kidding you. But you really need to get your head in the right place and your body in the right place, and even a little exercise wouldn't hurt you before you go in, so that your mind's popping. And I think that that's another thing is people go in not fully in the moment, not fully focused. And if you are, then you'll have a tendency to do better.
I love that. I love that tip. You know, something like, again, getting psyched up, getting in that mindset, maybe do some exercise or whatever to make things happen. Because you're right. We only perform as good as we feel. And if we're going in there and we're tired and whatever and sluggish, your best potential personality is not going to be there, and therefore you may not connect, and you may not get that job.
It's kind of like the rudiment of the whole thing, Now, if we get into more specific things, one of the big things that I've seen people do is you never say anything negative about your current employer or your previous employer. Now, why is that? I mean, what if you have some negative thoughts about them? Well, first of all, they're going to think, why are you being negative? Is there something you've done? They're not going to look at what your company's done. They're going to look at what have you done, because that's human nature. Another is, are you going to bring that negativity to the job with you? Are you going to be a cancer in the company? Are you going to cause problems there? And did you leave because you caused problems? Those are all questions that can come up. And I have seen people not get jobs just because they had a lot of negative things to say about their current employer that they're with right now.
Yeah.
Another
which I tell you something else that I want to point out that you brought out. I'm a big believer in marketing. Obviously, marketing and what we're talking about in the interview process is a marketing presentation. One of the things that you said is that 85% or whatever the number was, or the exact statement that you said is based on how well somebody likes you. And really, isn't that why anybody does business with anybody? It goes back to that, they know, like, and trust you. And so what you're telling me is if there's 5 people in the room and, they like me the best, even though maybe my skills aren't as good as the other 4, I'm going to get the job, just like I would if I was trying to sell something.
Definitely. And so I use that terminology a lot. Actually, interviewing is really sales. Writing a resume and presenting yourself is really marketing. But
Gotcha.
they're intertwined. You create a resume and it's your marketing piece, but you get in there and actually sell yourself. And one of the things I'll often tell people is that, if you're going to have to sit on a plane for 20 hours and go to China, you're not going to hire somebody that you hate. It's just not going to work. They're going to be ready to shoot yourself in the head. Certainly you have to be qualified. That's part of it. But the differentiator in a market where there's so many qualified people is what kind of connection do you make with that client? And that it all comes from that. Now, another mistake that you can make is getting ahead of yourself. See, interviewing is a multi-tiered process. It's not just, I'm going to have this one interview. There's a good chance you're going to have a phone interview. You might have another phone interview or technical interview. You might have a Skype interview. You might have a face-to-face interview. And you might have another face-to-face interview. Each one of these interviews is a different step along the way. Your first interview, you're not in there negotiating salary and talking about flex time to the HR person. That's the surest way not to get a second interview. But people do that,
Right.
Your first interview is literally just to get a second interview. Get past HR, get past the gatekeeper, and get to the guy who actually can make the decision to hire you. Because HR can make the decision not to hire you, but they can't make the decision to hire you because that's not their job. Their job is to make sure that they provide good candidates. So the key is
I like what you're saying here. In that one strategy alone really is going to help people I think, understand what they're doing. Their first interview is all about getting the second interview. I think that alone is a book. I mean, that's one strategy there that most people aren't aware of, because when you think about the job interview, you think, okay, I'm going to get hired today. Well, no. 90% of the chances are you're right. The first interview is just a filter to see if you're worthy enough to go up to the next interview. I love that concept.
Yeah, and there's another piece to that. You're not just interviewing to find out if they want to hire you. You are interviewing to find out if you want to work for them. And, if you go down this road and this is not the right job for you, then you shouldn't take it. And you should use your interviewing to do 2 things. One is find out if they want to hire you, but 2, to find out if you want to work for them. And if you operate from that mindset, you're going to be much more confident anyways. People don't want to hire someone desperate who just wants a job. They want to hire somebody who's evaluating them, that there's an interplay between them, a conversation. And the more conversational the interviews become, the actually more you connect with the people anyways.
Sure. Well, let's talk about this. All right. You are, job hunting. And today's job hunting is so much different than it was, just 10 years ago or 15 years ago, because the likelihood of you actually making personal contact with anybody hiring is almost like zero. Everything today is online. Fill out the application online, do a test online. How do you set yourself apart? How do you make a connection and break away from the herd when everything is done with technology?
Well, this question actually kind of goes off the interviewing, but I'll go into it because this is another area that I coach on. So I'm going to give you a little story, and I use this one, and it really paints the picture. So say that you're going and applying for a job, okay? You send out 100 resumes. Now, for the purpose of demonstration, you send 100 to one place. Out of those 100 resumes, 50% of them are going to get screened out by an applicant tracking system. Now you're down to 50. Now the next 25 resumes, or the next 50 resumes, are going to be screened by a generalist. Let's call her Ashley, who's trained highly in psychology and diversity hiring.
Okay.
Probably knows not that much about the job. Now we're down to 25. From those 25, she screens through them and hands them to the hiring manager. Out of those 25, he may take 10 and actually look at them. Say, all right, these look good enough to look at. From those 10, he takes it down to 5 he's willing to talk to on the phone. And from that 5, he then speaks to 1. So out of 100 resumes, and this is actually pretty generous, you only get 1 interview. So you're in a market right now that everything is very de-emphasized as a human factor, as you were mentioning. It's all done with computers, and they're using keyword searches right on the resumes that go through this system, and so it's very difficult. So how do you get past it? Actually, there's some techniques you can use where instead of just applying online, you need to track down who the guy is for that job, and you need to find your way to him. And you need to present yourself as if you're a salesman to that job. And this could be a whole discussion on how to do this, but
right.
When you can approach people directly, example, say that you reached out to a hiring manager and said, hey, I came across this opportunity that you guys were looking for somebody. You don't tell them that there's a job posted, and I'm a really good match for this. Here's why. Blah, 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 blah. Let's have coffee. If I was a hiring manager and someone came to me and actually approached me in that way, and he was good for the job, obviously, I would now have differentiated myself from the thousands of others who have interviewed. And HR will listen to a hiring manager who says, hey, I want to talk to this guy. So that's kind of guerrilla marketing but we kind of got off the path.
Sure.
But
well, you know what? Here's what I'd like to do.
Ahead,
here's what I'd like to do, because the reality is we could do a whole hour on not only interviewing but job search, and we and I also would like to bring you back and talk about LinkedIn and how important is LinkedIn today when it comes to looking for a job. So we're out of time for this segment, but I would love to have you back, and let's talk more about interviewing, and if you're open to it, how is LinkedIn important today? Are you open to coming back?
Oh, definitely. And as a note on the end, guess how me and you got together? I sent you a video tip on LinkedIn. And that's actually how I got this.
I completely forgot about that. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. I love it. That's well, guys, I want to give out your website. Now, I have a couple of different websites for you. So if you want some career coaching, go to executive-careercoaching.com, executive-careercoaching.com. And if you're looking for possibly searching for what's out there, go to electronicsearch.com. Carl Schumacher, thank you so much for stopping by. We'll have you back as soon as we can.
Thanks, Bert. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Tune in Monday through Friday here on Money for Lunch, and check out our website at moneyforlunch.com.